Ladies and gentlemen, self-respect is the foundation of every boundary you set, and without it, nothing else truly matters. The truth is, people don't treat you based on what you deserve. They treat you based on what you allow. When you begin to carry yourself with dignity, with a quiet but unshakable belief that you are worthy of love, worthy of kindness, and worthy of respect, it changes the way the world responds to you. Men, in particular, recognize immediately when a woman has standards rooted in self-respect. It's not about arrogance. It's not about being difficult. It's about communicating through your actions that you are not here to be taken lightly. You are here to be valued. Think about it. If you walk into a room with your head held high, your energy steady, and your spirit calm, people sense it. They can't quite put their finger on it, but they know you're not easily swayed. A woman who respects herself doesn't chase, doesn't beg, and doesn't compromise her values just to keep someone around. She understands that the cost of lowering her standards is too expensive because it comes at the price of her peace, her joy, and her identity. That kind of strength makes men pay attention because it speaks louder than words ever could. Self-respect also sets the tone for how you create and enforce your boundaries. For example, if you tell a man you won't tolerate disrespect, but then stay when he crosses the line, your words lose their power. But when you respect yourself enough to walk away, to say, "This doesn't align with who I am," you teach him and everyone else that your boundaries are not negotiable. That's where the respect begins to grow, because men respect what they cannot control, and they admire what stands firm. But here's something people often misunderstand. Self-respect isn't about being cold, hard, or unreachable. It's about knowing your value so deeply that you don't need validation from anyone else. You can still be kind, loving, and nurturing while holding firm boundaries. In fact, the more you respect yourself, the more freely you can love, because you are no longer afraid of losing yourself in the process. You know that no matter what happens, you won't abandon your own standards to keep someone around. And let's be honest, self-respect is magnetic. It attracts the right men and repels the wrong ones. A man who has no intention of valuing you will quickly back away when he sees you won't tolerate less than you deserve. But the man who is ready to cherish and respect you will lean in because he sees that you are rare. He knows he has to rise to your level if he wants to keep you. That is the silent power of self-respect. You never have to demand respect from anyone. Your presence, your standards, and your consistency demand it for you. Clarity is power, and when you live with it, people know exactly where they stand with you. A woman who is clear about her expectations, her limits, and her values commands a different level of respect, especially from men. See, confusion invites disrespect. If you're unsure about what you want, if you say one thing but do another, or if you allow blurred lines in relationships, you're opening the door for others to test, push, and cross boundaries. But when you operate with clarity, you don't have to fight for respect. It comes naturally, because people understand you mean exactly what you say. Think about how clarity builds confidence. When you tell someone, "This is what I will accept, and this is what I won't," you're not being difficult. You're being real. And men respect real. They may not always agree, they may not always like it, but they cannot ignore it. A woman who is clear about her boundaries saves herself from unnecessary drama, wasted time, and toxic cycles. She doesn't wait around hoping someone will figure out how to treat her. She makes it known from the start. That kind of directness makes men take her seriously because it shows she respects herself too much to play games. Clarity is also liberating. You no longer spend sleepless nights wondering why someone treated you poorly or replaying conversations to figure out if you gave the wrong impression. When you are clear about your standards and communicate them, the burden shifts. It's no longer about whether they understand you. It's about whether they are willing to rise to meet you. That shift frees you from anxiety and doubt because you've already defined the terms of how you want to be treated. Men, deep down, respect structure. They may resist it at first, they may test it, but in the end, they respect it because structure provides certainty. When you are consistent and clear, you become that certainty. There is no guessing, no confusion, no mixed signals. And the truth is, clarity weeds out the wrong people. A man who only wants to take advantage of you will leave. When he sees your clarity, leaves no room for manipulation. But a man who values you will stay because he knows you are strong enough to stand by your word. Clarity also strengthens your inner confidence. You no longer feel the need to justify or explain your boundaries. A simple no becomes enough because you are certain of what you will not allow. That quiet certainty is something men respect immediately. It speaks of a woman who knows who she is, who doesn't bend for approval, and who refuses to shrink herself just to fit into someone else's expectations. Clarity is about respect, for yourself first, and then for others. The clearer you are about who you are and what you stand for, the less room there is for disrespect in your life. And that's what makes men respect you without question, because you've left no room for misunderstanding. Energy is one of the most valuable resources you have, and yet it is often the most overlooked. When you live without boundaries, you end up pouring your energy into places, people, and situations that drain you instead of lifting you. You find yourself exhausted, not just physically, but mentally and emotionally. That is why boundaries are not just rules. They are shields that protect your energy. Men respect women who protect their energy because it shows strength, discipline, and self-awareness. It communicates that you value yourself too much to allow anyone to deplete what fuels your peace and your purpose. Every time you say yes to something that doesn't serve you, you are saying no to your own growth. Every time you allow someone to cross the line, you're giving them access to a part of you they didn't earn. Without boundaries, people will take more than you're willing to give. And by the time you realize it, you're left empty. Protecting your energy is about refusing to be consumed by things that don't align with your values. It's about knowing that your time, your love, and your attention are precious gifts. Not everyone deserves them, and not everyone has earned them. Men notice when a woman values her energy. If you are always available, always saying yes, always giving until there's nothing left for yourself, they see that as a weakness. But when you set limits and say, this is where I stop, or this is where I protect myself, it commands respect. It tells them you're not desperate for attention, validation, or approval. You know your worth, and you're not afraid to preserve your energy for what truly matters. That kind of discipline makes a powerful statement without you ever raising your voice. Protecting your energy also creates balance in your life. It means you can love deeply without losing yourself, work hard without burning out, and care for others without neglecting your own needs. A woman with strong boundaries doesn't just give, she gives wisely. And men respect that because it shows she has the strength to sustain herself without relying on someone else to keep her whole. She is complete, she is centered, and she knows that anyone who enters her life must add to her peace, not take away from it. The beauty of protecting your energy is that it not only shields you from negativity, but also attracts positivity. When you stop entertaining disrespect, drama, and toxicity, you create space for love, respect, and growth to flow into your life. Men who recognize this will approach you differently because they understand you won't waste your energy on games or half-hearted efforts. You require consistency, honesty, and effort. And the men who are unwilling to give that will fall away, leaving room for those who truly value you. Protecting your energy is about valuing yourself. It's about knowing that peace is priceless, and anything that threatens it is too costly to allow. When men see that you honor your energy, they respect you instantly because they realize you live by a standard that cannot be compromised. Consistency is the glue that holds your boundaries together. You can set all the boundaries you want, but if you fail to uphold them, when tested, they lose their power. Respect isn't built on what you say once. It's built on what you do repeatedly. When men see that your words and actions align over time, they understand that you mean what you say and you won't bend just because the situation gets uncomfortable. That consistency is what transforms boundaries from mere statements into undeniable standards. Think of it like this. The first time you say no to something that disrespects you, people watch closely to see if you're serious. If you hold your ground, they start to understand. But if you give in the next time, they realize your boundaries are negotiable, and from that point on, they push further and further. Men respect women whose consistency proves that they are not playing games. They respect women who don't make exceptions to their rules just because emotions run high or loneliness sets in. That reliability communicates strength, and strength always earns respect. Consistency also eliminates confusion. When you respond differently every time, people don't know what to expect from you. One day you tolerate disrespect, the next day you don't. One moment you walk away, the next you allow it to continue. That inconsistency not only confuses others, but also weakens your own sense of self. But when you consistently honor your boundaries, you reinforce to yourself and to others that your standards are firm and non-negotiable. It's not about being rigid. It's about being reliable with yourself. This is especially powerful in relationships. Men test boundaries, sometimes intentionally, sometimes unconsciously, just to see if they're real. If you say, "I don't accept dishonesty," but then forgive lie after lie, your words lose meaning. But if you make it clear through consistent action that dishonesty has no place in your life, men learn very quickly that you cannot be manipulated. They may not like it, but they will respect it. And that respect is what creates a foundation for a healthier, more balanced connection. Consistency also builds your inner strength. Every time you stand firm in your boundaries, you reinforce your self-worth. You remind yourself that you are strong enough to honor the promises you've made to yourself. And with each act of consistency, you grow more confident in who you are and what you deserve. Men notice that confidence. They respect it because it shows discipline, resilience, and integrity. A woman who is consistent in her boundaries is a woman who can't be shaken easily. And that kind of steadiness demands admiration. At the end of the day, consistency is the difference between boundaries that are respected and boundaries that are ignored. Words may inspire, but actions prove. When your actions consistently match your standards, you leave no room for doubt. Men will test you less because they already know where you stand. And that is where respect is born, not from what you say once, but from what you uphold every single time. Boundaries are not meant to create distance. They are meant to create balance. When you set boundaries in a relationship, you are not pushing someone away. You are teaching them how to be close to you in a healthy way. Too often people think love means giving everything, sacrificing everything, and allowing anything in the name of keeping the relationship alive. But real love, real respect, and real partnership cannot survive without boundaries. Boundaries are the guardrails that keep a relationship from spiraling into disrespect, manipulation, or control. And when a man sees that you have those guardrails firmly in place, he respects you more because he knows you value both yourself and the relationship. A healthy relationship is not about one person having all the power. It is about balance. Boundaries create that balance. When you say, "This is what I need to feel safe," or "This is what I will not allow," you are inviting the other person to rise to that standard. And if he truly values you, he will meet you there, not fight you on it. Men respect women who make it clear that love is not a license for mistreatment. They know that when a woman has strong boundaries, she won't let them get away with laziness, dishonesty, or disrespect. That knowledge pushes them to be better because they know your respect must be earned every day. Boundaries also create trust. Think about it. When you know where the lines are drawn, you don't have to second guess what's acceptable and what isn't. Both people can relax into the relationship because the expectations are clear. Men respect that kind of clarity because it removes the uncertainty that often causes tension. When you enforce your boundaries consistently, you show that you can be trusted to stand by your word, and that makes men take you seriously. Without boundaries, relationships quickly become toxic. One person takes advantage, the other gives too much, and resentment builds. But when you have boundaries, you prevent that cycle before it begins. You don't let a man take more than he should, and you don't give more than you can sustain. That balance creates space for love to grow in a healthy, respectful way. Men may not always say it out loud, but they feel more secure with a woman who enforces her boundaries. They know she won't tolerate nonsense, and that pushes them to bring their best selves into the relationship. At its core, boundaries in relationships are an expression of self-respect. And self-respect is magnetic. A man who truly cares will not see your boundaries as walls. He will see them as proof of your worth. He will respect you more for having them because they show that you love yourself enough not to lose yourself in the relationship. That kind of strength is rare, and it's exactly what makes men step up, stay committed, and treat you with the honor you deserve. Silence is one of the most underrated forms of strength. In a world where people feel the need to explain, defend, and argue about everything, silence can be louder than the strongest words. When you learn how to use silence as a boundary, you send a powerful message without having to say a single thing. Men in particular, notice this. They may expect you to plead your case, justify your standards, or react with anger when they cross a line. But when you respond with silence, when you simply step back, disengage, or walk away, you show a level of control that instantly commands respect. Silence protects your dignity. Arguments often strip you of your power because they pull you into a battle that doesn't need to be fought. The moment you start over, explaining why you deserve respect, you give away the very authority you are trying to protect. But silence says, "I know my worth, and I don't need to convince anyone of it." That's a language men understand, even if they never admit it out loud. They realize you won't waste your energy debating about things that should be non-negotiable. Silence also creates space. When you don't rush to react, when you don't let your emotions control your actions, you create room for clarity. You allow the other person to sit with their choices, to reflect on their behavior, and to understand the consequences without you having to spell them out. Men respect women who can master this discipline because it shows emotional intelligence and self-control. It tells them you're not desperate for attention or validation. You're grounded enough to stand in your truth without noise. And let's be clear, silence doesn't mean weakness. It doesn't mean you avoid speaking up for yourself. It means you choose when and how to use your voice, and you refuse to waste it where it won't be valued. Sometimes the most powerful boundary you can set is to say nothing and walk away. That action alone says more than hours of argument ever could. Men respect that because they see that you won't fight for their approval. They either rise to meet your standards, or they lose the privilege of your presence. Silence is also a form of self-protection. It shields you from being dragged into negativity, from being baited into arguments, or from giving your energy to someone who doesn't deserve it. By staying silent, you protect your peace. And peace, once a man sees how much you guard it, becomes something he respects deeply. He knows that if he wants access to you, he must come correct, because you will not break your silence for foolishness. Silence is not the absence of power. It is the presence of it. It shows confidence, control, and self-respect. Men instantly recognize this, because silence forces them to deal with themselves. And that is why using silence wisely is a boundary that speaks louder than any argument ever could. Boundaries do more than protect you. They act as filters that attract the right men and repel the wrong ones. The truth is, not every man deserves access to you. Not every man has earned the privilege of your time, your love, or your energy. When you create clear boundaries and live by them, you separate those who are serious from those who are just passing through. Men respect a woman who has standards because it forces them to decide, rise to the challenge, or step aside. Either way, you win, because your boundaries ensure that only the men who truly value you remain in your life. When you set boundaries, the wrong men see them as barriers. They call you too difficult, too picky, or too much work. That's not a reflection of your worth. It's a reflection of their inability to meet your standards. And that's exactly what boundaries are supposed to do. They filter out men who want easy access without responsibility, men who want your attention without effort, and men who want your loyalty without commitment. By standing firm, you save yourself from wasted time and heartbreak, because the men who can't handle your boundaries were never meant to stay. On the other hand, the right men see your boundaries as proof of your value. They don't run from them. They respect them. In fact, your standards inspire them to step up, to be more consistent, and to treat you with the honor you deserve. A man who is ready for a real relationship won't see your boundaries as obstacles. He'll see them as opportunities to show you that he's worthy of your trust. And when he sees that you're not afraid to enforce those boundaries, he knows you are not a woman to play games with. You're a woman to build with. Boundaries also create clarity in relationships. They prevent confusion by making it clear what you will and won't tolerate. Men respect that because it takes away the guesswork. They don't have to wonder what you expect. They already know. That clarity attracts men who are ready to be honest, committed, and intentional. It draws in the kind of man who values structure and stability because he recognizes that your boundaries create an environment where love can grow without chaos. And here's the beauty. Boundaries are not just about keeping out the wrong men. They're about protecting the best version of you. When you protect your energy, your peace, and your self-worth, you naturally become more attractive to the men who are seeking a partner with depth, confidence, and strength. You don't have to chase, convince, or compete. The right men will find you, and when they do, they will respect you from the start, because your boundaries have already set the tone for how you expect to be treated. At the end of the day, boundaries are not walls that keep love away. They are gates that allow the right love to enter. They repel the men who want to take without giving, but they attract the men who are ready to give as much as they receive. And that is why setting boundaries instantly makes men respect you. Because the wrong ones won't stay, and the right ones will never want to leave.